was sitting on it. It's 5-0 Arizona.
Welcome to another Valley Sports Plug Arizona Diamondbacks recap for June 19th to July 2nd, 2023. I'm Chris Patrick, and with me today is my man Michael Benjamin here to break it all down for you. So let's go ahead and get right into it. In the last 2 weeks, the Diamondbacks went 7-6 over 4 series plus 1 makeup game versus Washington. And after the weekend series, our overall record stood at 50-35 on the season, and still the best record in the NL West. Let's go ahead and take a look at how those last 2 weeks broke down for the Diamondbacks. Starting off the last 2 weeks, we were back on the road taking on the Milwaukee Brewers at American Family Field. The Diamondbacks won that series 2-1. From there, the Snakes made a quick stop back in Washington for their makeup game against the Nationals and were able to finally complete the last leg of the sweep 2 weeks later. Staying on the road, the Diamondbacks came back to the West Coast to take on the San Francisco Giants for a 3-game series. They dropped the first 2 games, and for a second, it looked like they might get swept for the first time all season. But on the back of a strong start from Ryan Nelson, they were able to hold on and win Game 3 and avoid the sweep. Finally, back at home, the Diamondbacks would host the American League studs and fellow 1997 expansion team, the Tampa Bay Rays. The Snakes came out strong, winning Game 1, but sadly would go on to lose the next 2 in this one. It was a short home stint as the D-backs went back to California to take on the Los Angeles Angels and Shohei Ohtani for a 3-game series. Getting back into form, they won 2 of 3 in this series, but it wasn't without some scares along the way, but we'll get more into that here in a bit. For now, let's pass it over to Michael Benjamin for a deeper look at the last 2 weeks.
We start off our recap in Wisconsin as Alek Thomas makes his return from the minors in a big way, smacking a 2-run homer on the first pitch of his first return plate appearance, leading to a dominant 9-1 victory in Game 1. Austin Adams unfortunately falters in a dismal 7th inning appearance in Game 2, but the D-backs snag the finale of the series behind all-star Zach Gallen. Love to hear that. Then we take a short trip to the nation's capital to finish off the delayed series against the Nationals, and as Chris stated, officially secure the sweep behind a solid 6+ inning performance by Tommy Henry and a 3-run shot from Ketel Marte. The Diamondbacks then took off to the Bay Area to battle against the up-and-coming Giants, who have now been battling with the Dodgers for second place. And unfortunately, we saw more of the same from Zach Davies in Game 1. The Rallybacks couldn't finish off the comeback in Game 2, leaving the tying run stuck on third. But they do salvage a win in Game 3 behind a much-needed solid start from Ryan Nelson, tossing 7 with only 1 earned run and 6 strikeouts on 89 pitches. We finally get a day off after 17 straight games and get to sleep in our own beds. But the powerhouse Tampa Bay Rays were waiting for us. And Zach Gallen, he does secure the win after a shaky second inning in Game 1, really thanks to a huge first behind the Snakes' bats. But the Rays take the series as Scott McGough squanders a 2-0 lead in the 9th in Game 2. And the same day call-up Brandon Pfaadt gets popped and pulled in only 2 innings in the series finale. And for our final series of the recap, the Diamondbacks head to Anaheim and secure a much-needed series victory. All-star Lourdes Gurriel Jr. cranks a 2nd inning grand slam in Game 1. Ryan Nelson and recalled Dominic Fletcher set the pace in Game 2, but Zach Gallen gives up 3 home runs in the series finale and only drops his 3rd game of the season. But these were the tests we were talking about, right? Starting to see some of these more high-profile matchups. And having an over 500 record for the recap, it's always great. But it's tough to see them not taking the Giants or the Rays series, as they had opportunities to strike in Game 2 of both of those series. And the test, it's not over. We still have some tough matchups upcoming, especially after the All-Star break. And as Chris alluded to, now we have to monitor some of our major key pieces in Corbin Carroll and Merrill Kelly, but really a more scary situation for Kelly with the blood clot. But let's not get it twisted here, folks. We still got to love first place. And as the Dodgers and the Giants continue to duke it out, the Diamondbacks are staying the course and are now getting some recognition with 3 All-Stars and a first-time starter. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Chris so he can dive into what he's been seeing over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I totally agree, Mike. It feels like for me, I'm still waiting for the shoe to drop on this team and maybe a slide back into being a less competitive team. But honestly, that could just be a pessimist in me because I don't see it happening anytime soon. We've been rolling, the bats have remained hot, and the pitching has been a bit of a roller coaster. But first, I do want to highlight some of the stats and these players in the last 2 weeks. Starting off with Lourdes Gurriel Jr., you mentioned the grand slam that he had. Absolutely incredible. In the last 2 weeks, he has a 208 average with 10 hits, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. The guy, Alec Thomas, got called up, and in his first at-bat, the first pitch of that at-bat, puts one over the fence. In the last 2 weeks, a 279 average, 12 hits, that home run I mentioned, and 7 runs scored. Christian Walker, again, a guy that continues to get it done for us, staying steady. A 269 average, 14 hits, only 1 home run, and 6 RBIs. And I say only 1 home run because we know he's able to crank them out. So we'll see him continue to get at least 1 every 2 weeks, I'd imagine. On the other side, you do have our all-star Zach Gallen. In 3 starts, he had a 2-1 record, an ERA of 4.05 with 20 strikeouts and 4 walks. Merrill Kelly had 2 starts, was 1-0 in those starts. His ERA 4.38 with 12 strikeouts and 6 walks as well. Looking at the bullpen a bit, we got Scott McGough through 5 appearances, had 4 saves, 1 loss, 9 strikeouts, and 6 innings pitched. And looking at Kyle Nelson, in 4 appearances, he had 5 2/3 innings pitched and 8 strikeouts. So I said I was going to talk about it, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but it stays true. This team needs some pitching help, both in the starting rotation and in the bullpen. Bringing up Brandon Pfaadt against the American League best Tampa Bay Rays, what were you thinking? This guy already has confidence issues when pitching in the majors and looked a little bit scared when a line drive was hit by him into center field. So he just doesn't look quite too comfortable or ready to be playing at the major league level. And honestly, I don't think I want to see Pfaadt for a little while. Maybe the rest of the season. That could be harsh. There's still plenty of time left to go. But yeah, Mike, you said it. Concerned about Carroll. Looks like he's going to avoid the IL. And Merrill Kelly did find his way on the 15-day IL with that blood clot and shoulder. But I expect we'll see both of those guys back and making an impact very soon. But speaking about guys who make an impact, Mike, who is your player of the recap this week?
We had to go in a different direction. I mean, I'm just really proud of this guy and what he's done on the mound over the past 2 weeks. So I had to go with starting pitcher Ryan Nelson. In 3 appearances over the last 2 weeks, he was 2-0 with an ERA of 2.33 and 18 strikeouts. And his last 2 appearances only had 3 hits and an earned run through 7 innings against the Giants and the Angels, which is great competition. He did have an opportunity to take the win in his first outing of the recap, but unfortunately the bullpen faltered like we've seen plenty of times. But we know that Ryan Nelson has been up and down and one of those guys who we've just been talking about making moves to get somebody in here in the back half 3 to 5 starting positions, right? But if you can start getting some more solidified efforts under your belt and continue this kind of pace, I love seeing him going 7 innings, only throwing 89 pitches in one of them as well. That's just exactly what we need. But I went with Ryan Nelson. Very proud of what he was able to do these past 2 weeks. So, Chris, who'd you go with, man? Who is your player of the recap?
I had to go back to another guy that seems to find his way into our player of the recap every now and again, and that is Mr. Ketel Marte. In the last 2 weeks, batting 269, 14 hits, 5 home runs, 14 RBIs, and 12 runs scored. I had to double check that 5 home run stat. I couldn't believe it. He's absolutely been cranking and hot with the bat. He had 3 multi-hit games in the last 2 weeks and had at least 1 hit in 10 of 13 games in that stretch. Was he an all-star snub? Maybe. But I hope he doesn't let that discourage him, and hopefully he doubles down his commitment to keep playing well, being a student of the game, getting on base and cranking those home runs, because I absolutely love to see it. You guys know there's a special place in my heart for Ketel Marte, and we'll just have to see where it goes. But now we'll go over to the Valley Sports Plug call-in line. VSP Tallman from San Diego to share with us his player of the recap. Tallman, you're on the air. Go ahead.
And we're back. It is the Tallman. Wait, it's not the Tallman ticket. This is VSP Tallman, Arizona Diamondbacks recap, the San Diego edition. All right, fellas, my player of the recap. I'm going to take the easy route right here. I'm going to vote for Corbin Carroll for my player of the recap. Why? Well, the kid was just the first Arizona Diamondback rookie to be named to an all-star starter team. So he's going to get my love for this recap. Sorry, guys, but we're out here at 65 and sunny. Hope you guys are having fun in 110-degree heat back there at home in Phoenix. But also, we're going to shout out to Lourdes Gurriel Jr. for getting that all-star nod, and Ketel Marte. Oh, can we just cry for a little bit? All-star snub, didn't get the vote, but hey, Ketel, you're an all-star in my book. So, all right, guys, to Christopher Patrick, to Michael Benjamin, to VSP Nation, until next time, guys, peace.
Well said, Tallman. I like that pick a lot. But let's go ahead before we get out of here and show you our upcoming series in the next 2 weeks. Coming back home, we'll take on the New York Mets for a 3-game series. After that, staying at home, we'll have the Pittsburgh Pirates roll into town for another 3-game series. We'll take 4 days off for the All-Star break, but then get right back to work, traveling out to Canada to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. I expect these all to be great series. The Mets and the Blue Jays have been cooking, and the Pirates aren't too bad for my money. I'll be really interesting to see what this team is looking like in 2 weeks, and really optimistic, though, all things considered. I want you guys to make sure you tune in to the MLB All-Star Game. It's Tuesday, July 11th. You got to be out there to support our guys Corbin Carroll, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and Zach Gallen, of course. That'll be a lot of fun to see. But for Michael Benjamin and VSP Tallman, I'm Chris Patrick, and we'll see you then. Peace.